DJI is most known for their drones. Now, they make a ton of other products, but one category that they've really gotten into lately is the power station business. This is the DJI Power 500, and probably the one that I use most is this guy, the DJI Power 1000. Both of these have been killer to own, but today DJI is announcing this guy, DJI Power 2000. Now, I figured that today, instead of just going through this power station, I thought what would be most helpful for you guys is to do a buyer's guide, a DJI 500 versus 1000 versus 2000, so that if you are looking for a power station, you can figure out which of these three is best for you. Need a bigger desk for this. Okay, first up, let's talk about what all three of these power stations have in common for you. They are all using LFP battery chemistry inside them, which is lithium ferrophosphate. What that means is that all three of these battery stations can get you up to 4,000 full battery cycles before they actually degrade. Now, what a full cycle actually means is, let's say you took the 1000 from 100% down to 50%, and then you charged it back up. That is only half of one cycle. So you could do that 8,000 times, you could go halfway, or you could go all the way 4,000, or you could go a quarter of the way 16,000 times, which would take you a very long time. And on this guy, it will reduce your battery capacity down to about 70%, this guy about 70%, and this guy only down to 80%. Again, after 4,000 cycles, like full cycles of these batteries, will they actually start degrading. All three are also really designed with safety in mind. They've got temperature sensors inside, they've got fuses inside of all of them, and all three of them are incredibly quiet while you charge them. So I think that this one is the loudest at 29 decibels, which is almost nothing, and this guy are like 26 to 28 decibels. So very quiet while you are charging them up, and all three do support fast charging. But let's dip into each of them individually first. The DJI Power 500. I love this little thing. It's killer to just be able to kind of toss in your car, even take it on like trips with you. This thing only weighs 7.3 kilograms, so super lightweight power solution, and it does still have a fairly high output at 1000 watts. And that is 1000 watts continuous. It can surge a bit higher, but 1000 watts is its like continuous run rate. Now, it does have a 512 watt-hour battery inside. So what does that kind of equate to in time? If you are plugging something into this thing that is pulling 100 watts and you have 512 watt hours, essentially you would have 10 hours of runtime. If you had something that pulled 500 watts, you would get 1 hour. So then maybe you would have 100 watts, you would get 5 hours of. Let's plug something in and I will show you how this works. Math can be tricky. All right, here are some DJI batteries. Now, DJI does have on all three of these an SDC port. This one specifically has an SDC Lite port, but there are actually adapters that go in here and can specifically charge certain drone batteries so that it fast charges them. We're just gonna regular charge them through our USB-C to USB-C. And as soon as that's plugged in, you see that our output is 60 watts, and it can do that for 3 more hours at 47%. Now, it won't take 3 hours to charge that up. It's just saying at 60 watts, this thing at 47% will do 3 more hours before it is completely depleted. So it is cool that like while you're charging off of any of these, it will tell you how much longer can you go. So if you're running lights or refrigerators or anything that's like kind of more of a constant draw, you'll be able to see how long can I continue this setup. On the 500, we have 2 AC wall outputs. So this is just anything that you would plug into the wall, you can plug in right here. We have, like I said, the one SDC port, which is DJI's proprietary port. And then this is your input. Up top here, we have 2 USB-C ports and 2 USB-A ports. Now, both of these USB-C ports charge at 100 watts, and then the USB-A ports can go up to 24 watts. So that's basically everything on this power station. It is incredibly simple, incredibly lightweight, like I said, and it charges up super quick. When plugged into AC power, just the wall power, you can charge this thing up from 0 to 80% in 50 minutes, and then 0 to 100% in 70 minutes. That is That is the 500. Now onto the 1000. The 1000, it's the one that I've been using most. This has been the power station that has charged my Sprinter van. So if you want to check out like an entire kind of build out with this guy, I've actually got this guy, and I have their 2000 watt hour or 2048 watt hour expansion battery pack. I've got this guy hooked into that guy, and then there's a solar and alternator charger that's charging them both up. But now I've swapped this for the 2000. So now it's the DJI Power 2000 and the expansion battery pack in the van. But this has been in the van for a very long time, and I've loved this thing because in here now I have 1024 watt hours and I have a larger output. Through all the ports kind of combined, this thing can go up to 2200 watts stable. So continuous at 2200 watts, and it can surge up to 4400 watts. So power tools, heater, like heavy things that are drawing a lot of power is kind of where you want to make the jump from this guy up to this guy. I would say anything kind of power tools or anything that's going to surge heavily, you definitely want to move to the DJI 1000. Now on here, we still only have 2 AC ports, and then on here we have 2 USB-Cs, 2 USB-As, and we have 2 SDC ports. Now, this is important because if you are using up one of these ports to connect this to an expansion battery pack, you still have another port available to do things like running DC power or plug in their wireless module. Now we'll talk about this in just a couple of minutes here. Hey, let me cut in real quick here because I was going to complain about this dongle. Now on the 1000 and the 500, if you want to use DJI's app, which is a really good app to be able to control the devices, change settings on there, you have to plug this thing in to one of the SDC ports. So you lose an SDC port if you want to be able to continually access your base station. So with mine, what I would do is I would plug this in, I would change the settings, and then I would unplug this, and then I would plug back in what I needed, usually a DC power right there. So I would keep that out. But I realized on the 2000, and I legit just realized that this week, I've been using this for 3 months, you do not need that. It is now built into here. This was one of my big feature requests. This little Bluetooth dongle is now built into the power station. I can see everything on this power station. I can go in there and I can change my output settings. I can go up here. I can go into energy management, change kind of my discharge limit, my recharge limit. I can do all sorts of things from the app now through this. And I do not use up one of my SDC ports. So I will cut out the other part later in the video where I complain about this. On the USB ports, the USB-A ports are still 24 watts, but now the USB-C ports jump to 140 watts. So charging things like your MacBook Pro charges off this at full power because you can pull 140 watts from each of these USB-Cs. So not a ton more functionality on here or like out of the device from the 500. Mainly it's that one extra SDC port, and we get a little bit more charging out of the USB-C ports. The biggest deal with this guy is the bigger output, 2200 watts stable and 4400 watts on a surge. Let's jump to the brand new DJI Power 2000. This thing gets some new toys. Right away that you'll see on the ports, we now have a 220 RV port. So this is for using this to power your RV, using this as like a portable generator for your RV. You can run that port there. We've got now 3 AC ports on here. They are in an odd orientation. We will talk about the orientation at the end, but you do have now 3 AC ports on here. Then down to the USB ports, we now have 4 USB-C ports and 4 USB-A ports. Now, USB-C ports, we have 2 that are 140 watts and 2 that are 65 watts. Those are both like, I mean, they're all high output USB-Cs. You could charge your MacBook Pro off that 65 watts, or you could plug in 2 MacBook Pros to the 140s and 2 iPad Pros to the 65 watts, and this thing could power them all. And that's because on this guy, we now have an even higher output. So 2048 watt hours of power. That's how much storage is now in here. And now this guy can run at up to 3000 watts continuous. So you can plug in all the different things that add up to 3000 watts, and you can run it continuously until this thing is drained. Now, at 3000 watts, this thing would drain in under an hour, but how you can kind of like just do quick math on that is 2048 watt hours, right? So anything that you ran at 1000 watts could last for essentially 2 hours on here. So plugging in something that's like this guy, 60 watts. Let's see, we're at 90% on this thing, so we're not all the way full. There we go. We are pulling 58 watts out of this thing, and that says that it will run for 27 hours. So no issues charging drone batteries. But again, way more wattage, way more output, and more outlets. And what's crazy about the 2000 is that the fast charging isn't that much longer. It is 0 to 80% in 70 minutes. So this guy is 0 to 80% in 55 minutes. This guy, only 70 minutes. It is twice the capacity. And then 0 to 100% is 90 minutes. Now those are US times. For some reason on the spec sheet in other countries, it's even faster. I'm in the US though, so for me, 90 minutes on this guy, 0 to 100. On this guy, 70 minutes. And same on the little guy. I need a bigger, this place isn't big enough. Another big difference is how many of these expansion battery packs you can hook up. So these 2000 watt hour expansion battery packs. So I could put, with the 1000, I can hook up 5 expansion battery packs to the 1000. But now with the 2000, I can hook up 10 2000 watt hour expansion battery packs to a 2048 watt hour station. So 2048 plus 2048 is 4096. But all in, if I hooked all of them up together, I would get to 22,528 watt hours. That is the DJI Power 2000 with 10 expansion battery packs. The Power 500, super lightweight. Weight-wise, we've got 7.3 kilograms on this guy. This guy jumps up to, this guy is 13 kilograms, and then this guy jumps up to 22 kilograms. So 22 kilograms is 48-ish, 49-ish pounds. Like 50 pounds, it's easy to like carry around and move places, but it is, you know, significantly heavier than just grabbing this guy and tossing it with you. So I would kind of say like this is, yes, this is a great portable power station. Like I almost think of them as like, you know, like those big battery packs that you just kind of throw in your backpack. I think of it as like a super version of that. Like this thing can run a ton of stuff. Again, 512 watt hours. That's a ton of power. And then this guy kind of makes that jump of like, you want one of these around as, hey, you get a power outage and you create this thing. You can plug in your phone, keep your phones charged, your computers charged, maybe plug a small refrigerator into this, keep some food cold at home. This would be great for that. Again, 1,000 watt hours. It's good, but if you really are thinking like home backup, I would guide you to the 2000. I think that the 2000, like if you look across the industry, the 2000 watt hour systems, so this is 2048 watt hours, but the 2048 watt hour systems are kind of where like home backup begins. I think this is killer for like maybe on set, charging cameras, on like an adventure, throwing this in the back of your SUV, like killer battery pack setup. Again, emergency power, but not like charging a lot of stuff. This guy comes in and like 2048 watt hours. Now, DJI is like officially in the power bank business. Like they're competing with the big brands with a 2048 watt hour system. So no like best model. They all are really great. They all are using the LFP battery chemistry. So they're all getting that 4,000 cycles before the battery degradation. I think the biggest way that you decide which of these that you actually want is to just do some napkin math. Like take the devices that you want to run and just write down like how many watts do they pull. You can look it up on Google. How many watts does this thing pull? Write down all the things that you want to power and then just do the math on it. 2,048 watt hours, 1,024 watt hours, and 512 watt hours. And then again, 3,000 watt output. This thing is putting out 2,200 watt output and 1,000 watt output. Just kind of figure out like which of these three best fits your needs. And remember that to these guys especially, you can add in the expansion battery pack. I'm curious to hear from you guys though, because a lot of people on my 1,500 videos said, man, I wish DJI made it 2,000 because DJI's batteries are so good, but I just want bigger. And now they did it. They gave you a 2,000. What do you think? Okay, so the dongle thing, like I'm stoked on. why are these upside down? Why are these two upside down? Most of the like power bricks that I think about, like they go from here and then they go down. So like if I put one there, it would cover this one. Although I do feel like a lot of power bricks these days have 2 prongs instead of 3 prongs. So I guess a 2-prong one can go here and go down. Anyways, why are these upside down? Do you know? Does anyone know? If you know, tell me.